Oh, we're going off the rails again. Our weekly show that takes one topic that may have come up during our Walt Disney World Edition podcast or may not have. And we are going to take that topic and we are just going to go on way too long about it because why not? I'm Craig Williams. I'm also here with Rhino. I'm here with Denny and I'm here with Jackie. How y'all doing?
Doing well, Craig. Thanks.
Yeah, I like this. It's like our after show where we just get to chat, be Gabby. I like being Gabby.
So, I like being Gabby too.
Normally I'm Craig, but today I'll be Gabby.
Isn't Gabby the name of that scary doll from Toy Story 4?
Yes.
She's the Gabby. Doll.
She is. And you know what, Rhino, that's a beautiful transition because you can watch Toy Story 4 and all the other Toy Story movies on Disney Plus. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Disney Plus. That was it. You set me up for the transition and I fell over. I didn't even nail it. No,
someone put a penny on your railroad.
Yes, and because of that, we went off the rails. Yep, always keeps coming back around. But today we're going to talk about Disney Plus. So the inspiration of this discussion stemmed from when Rhino admitted how wrong he was about WandaVision on this week's show. We let him talk about it briefly, but since the Walt Disney World Edition podcast is about Walt Disney World and randomly sometimes other topics that matter, but it's not about Disney Plus first and foremost. So we try to keep that chatter to a minimum, and this is a great place to have chatter like that. So just recapping. Disney Plus, Rhino was wrong about WandaVision, and let's go off the rails on it. What do we have to say?
I'd like to say that I put an asterisk in the tweet I made. I said, I hope in the end, WandaVision will be one of those shows where I can go back and rewatch and be like, wow, look at all of this stuff I didn't know is happening. Like the first two episodes and then even the third episode was a little slow for me, but now it is like, again, it's just ramped up that speed like nobody's business. And it's good. It's a fun mystery, and it stops doing that thing where only the last 10 seconds of the episode have that major cliffhanger to be continued. Like, I feel like especially this last week's episode had a lot more of that spread throughout the episode where you're like, I know I'm not going to get an answer to this thing that's going to drive me crazy for at least another week, if not like 2, 3. We got 3 episodes left at the time of recording this, but so should we say we might end up talking about spoilers, or are we just talking about that very generally?
Yeah, we'll throw out the spoiler realm on it and say, so we'll try to hold back though, because we know Jackie started watching and she did not make it up to where we're at with the conversation right now. So we don't want to spoil stuff necessarily for her, but at the same time, she has a very limited base on Marvel. This is the first Marvel series she's ever watched, and first Marvel movie too. Jackie, you haven't watched any?
No,
right?
I've watched a couple of the Marvel movies. I've seen like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I've seen some of the older ones too, but just not all of them.
So do you even know who Vision is?
Stories. I do. I saw what happened to him in the most recent one.
Do you know?
I was like, wait. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know who Quicksilver is?
No.
Pietro.
Yeah, he's only in one of the Marvel Cinematic movies. He is in Age of Ultron.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We're going to say spoilers. Spoilers, but
just in case.
Yeah, just in case. I'll try to put chapters in this video too, so that way people can click over the spoiler talk. So nice. Keep an eye on that for YouTube. And if you're listening to this on audio, I can't help you. I wish there was a skip around option. I think it's increased 30 seconds, but I'll just put in a big air horn when we're done talking about it. I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my time. Okay, spoilers. Rhino, go ahead.
So what we was going to say is, because for anybody that's caught up, we the big thing that happened on this show, and you were like, how dare they? How are they going to do this? Like, is that the brother showed up, and which is fine and dandy, because obviously Vision is dead, so we don't know how Vision is there right now either. But the brother is played by Evan Peters, who plays no, I couldn't remember the other guy's name, the one who played him in Age of Ultron.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Not to be confused with
Aaron
Anya. Anya
yes,
Taylor-Joy, I think.
Yes.
Who's also in an X-Men movie. She's in New Mutants, but which is a Fox movie, so they're part of the Fox franchise. Evan Peters, famously, Age of Ultron used the two characters Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver at the exact same time that Quicksilver was going to be used in the X-Men movie Days of Future Past, which is a great movie, great movie, and a great portrayal of that character as well. But the thing is, because they are mutants, they are technically like Magneto's children. And they kind of rewrote that story a little bit for the MCU by saying that they were experimented on using it's the Mind Stone, right? Because it's the same stone that Vision has in his forehead. That's why they're connected. Yeah. And it was in Loki's staff, right? Yeah, because it was Hydra had the staff. That's the opening of Age of Ultron, and you meet these kids, and they're enhanced, I think was the word that the MCU kept using for people. But anyway, when Quicksilver Pietro shows up at Wanda's door at the end of episode 4, and you could see the back of his head, it's silver, and then she's shocked, and then the camera pans around, and it's Evan Peters, and you're like, what? Like, and knowing that they've announced that there's going to be this Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, hearing that we're going to get the other Spider-Man into the Spider-Man movie, possibly, that this stuff is coming, is very like, is this the beginning of that? Because WandaVision is supposed to lead into that Doctor Strange movie, or is Disney and Marvel just trolling us right now by doing this and just having Evan Peters play him? And so we're waiting for that storyline to play out. And it did a little bit in this episode. And what I love about WandaVision now is this double-sided dialogue that they have, where he even says, like, so Quicksilver's talking to Scarlet Witch, and he's like, how are you doing this? And she's like, I don't know how I'm doing this. And he's like, oh yeah, well, what happened to your accent? And she's like, or she says, what happened to your accent? And he goes, what happened to your accent? Yeah. And I think that was probably the funniest lines in the entire
That was the best.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the fact too that they're wearing their Halloween costumes as their comic book costumes, and how ridiculous it looks. Like Mystery Men looked better.
Oh, it's so, and the kids wearing their costumes too is so great too. Because I love the kid. Like, it's crazy because I have seen like a theory. Like, I won't read anything about spoilers or anything like that, and I don't know much about Wanda in the comics other than a little bit about her. I think it was House of M or something like that storyline where she essentially used her powers to get rid of all the mutants in the Marvel comic books, because at that time Disney had bought Marvel. They could not use the mutants in the movies, and they were like, well, we don't want material for Fox to be able to use it. So they tried to get rid of the mutant franchise. And now it's like the reverse. Is she going to bring in the mutants for the cinematic universe? Is that what's happening? I think I have heard that if you listen in this episode, there's a lot of, like, he calls the kids demon spawns. He says unleash hell. He says something else. I think that it's possible that he might be the bad guy.
Or there's the rumor floating around that there just is no bad guy. And I'm okay with that too.
Grief is the bad guy?
There doesn't, I don't even like that.
Yeah.
Don't put a name on Grief. Let's not turn Grief into something bad. Let's just say there's no bad guy. Not everything needs a bad guy. That's an easy trope. Good and evil. I'm getting bored with it. How long has that been around now? Like, couple thousand years, give or take.
I don't know. How long have humans been roaming the earth? Who knows? Dinosaurs probably had their own version.
Why can't we all just admit we're all pretty terrible? And then there doesn't need to be good and evil. It's just about how terrible are we? And I think that's the best method for it. But Denny, what are your impassioned thoughts and feelings?
I agree with what Rhino said as far as it's nice now with these more recent episodes that we get a little bit more of that action. It feels like an old familiar friend has come, like, oh, like the pacing started to be Marvel Cinematic Universe pacing, just the storylines that are coming in, the way that we're transitioning from scene to scene to scene. Now it feels more like what we are accustomed to with the Marvel movies. So now, I mean, I didn't recognize it before, the first 3 episodes. You're kind of like, okay, I'm hanging in there. And I know, like, I'm appreciating it for what it is. Yes, like we have some fun, kitschy moments here, but it wasn't these weren't like, I joke and say, these are my friends. Like, I'm watching my friends on the movies, like the Avengers. We love them dearly. Right. So now I'm like, oh,
what's an
I know
Avenger?
you. Yes.
When he said that, I was like, "Oh no, no!" Like, okay, I do have another theory. I was thinking, and so I don't know if this changes how you watch it a little bit or something like that. I think The Outside is also a TV show. So I think there's 2 shows happening at once. Because they were talking about, they say a couple of quick one-liners in the, like, Darcy, who is Kat Dennings' character, said something about where they were like, why is it? Because for them, the show is repeating. They keep seeing the show. So they were saying that they don't know if it's happening in time at the current time or not, or if it's happening all jumbled up or anything like that. But also then the bad guy, I don't mean to say the bad guy, the head of S.W.O.R.D., he was like, he's kind of taken a turn, right? Because he's kind of their like antagonist on the outside in sort of a way. But then he said something in the last episode where he was like, "Where's the Chucky? Not Chucky, that's the doll. where's the where's the chummy best friend?" And then entered Randall Park, and I was like, okay, are they all playing roles right now too, or like this is the friend? They're in like an X-Files sort of a show on the outside. Like they're in 24 meets X-Files meets Fringe. Like that's that show. And then Wanda is inside of the sitcom realm.
I think
like
that was the whole point of it though.
No, but I mean, like, I think it's gonna be a thing in the end where we take a step back even further, and they're like, why are there's gonna be a thing where they are also playing roles in a show, like an actual show? Not,
well, I think you're wrong.
Could be way off.
I think you're way off. But then again, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you you're wrong, because I don't want to have to tell you that you're right if you are right. And that's the type of pettiness I bring to the table, is not admitting when you're wrong. And I'm proud of it. So, anyone else have anything what they're watching on Disney Plus right now, just to make it a broader conversation of sorts? Is anything exciting you that's coming up? I mean, this is famously the week. Depths. No, this is famously the week that this weekend, probably tomorrow, I think actually, is when the Muppet Show is all 5 seasons released on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking
Very
about Mighty Ducks. That's down the line. That's far away. You're allowed to be excited about it, but anything coming, anything right now that's exciting you on Disney Plus?
I'm really excited about the Muppet Show. Mm-hmm. That was the
really
one.
Off the rails, Jackie. Just really off the rails there.
Well,
you took it and ran for it.
I wasn't allowed to watch a whole ton of TV, and I was the kid who had the extraordinarily ridiculously early bedtime. So, like, you know how
2 in the
shows
afternoon.
were, I could watch whatever was on from 7 to 7:30, and that was it. So, like, I didn't get to watch all of these kinds of things that a lot of you guys got to watch when you were kids, because I just wasn't allowed to. And then when these things started coming up when I was a little bit older, watching those things on TV wasn't really my thing at that age. So the Muppet Show was on at 7. And so the Muppet Show was something that I always got to watch, and I always sang along, and I'm excited to sort of relive the Muppet Show. So, and we loved Mulan. We watched that over the last month, and just we watched a couple of the different series that they have, the exclusive series about where the cast members come on and they share what they do, and we really enjoyed that one. And we really, really liked the one at that took place at Animal Kingdom, the magic behind Disney's Animal Kingdom. That was really fun. So, and to see the new babies that are born at the parks based on the dates that they had on that series. Because like the animal keepers, they set up dates with the animals. And so they have like these little dates. And so
like romantic dates.
Like
I was
date.
like,
Yes.
you mean like February 1st? Like,
no.
Okay.
No, like
April
date
25th. It's not too hot. It's not too warm. All you need is a light jacket.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And so now there's babies that resulted because of those dates. And so we've been getting a kick out of those. So that's kind of what we've been watching. I did watch the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, but I only got into those first 2 so far because then I got stuck on some other series that was consuming my time on another network. So,
well, there is no other network. So
yeah, all other networks we lead back to Disney
there are
Plus.
2: Disney Plus and YouTube.com/DisneyPlus.
Have you?
yes.
Did you see that article? I know people were reposting it, where the critic was like, was talking about the pacing of the show or something like that. But essentially, he was just complaining because it's a regular TV show that you have to watch. You have to wait every week. And people were like, did you forget how to watch TV?
Yeah, I feel like I brought up this point, though, maybe it wasn't on this. It might have been on Connecting with Walt when I was talking to Michael about it, or just in a random conversation. But I brought this up a while ago, that it's like that to someone in conversation, that it really just, Netflix has changed everything, the way that people consume content. And in some cases it's a really good thing. In other cases it's an absolute travesty. And that's where like I can see a benefit of something like WandaVision, that I think for certain people it's gripping. It's just really awesome to watch it on a weekly basis and see how it all plays out. But I think there's also going to be a massive benefit to being able to watch the show in a binge mode afterwards. Whereas something like Mandalorian, I think this is where I made my point with it, that I stick by it on this. I don't think The Mandalorian's good as a binge show. I think that show needs weekly in order to really space it out. And it's like, you lose your mind about what happened that week, and then you hit reset, and then you move on with it next week. It is furthering a plot line, but not in a format that you need that time and space between to think about it, to speculate. Yeah. You can do that, but like when you watch The Mandalorian all in a row, it does not play off as like, oh, this is perfect for a binge, or it was perfect on a week. Like
each episode, Mandalorian usually had space in between each episode too, right? So I felt like when you watch that, I had that same problem with Mandalorian that I was saying that I had the beginning of WandaVision, was I hate the last 30-second hook that then doesn't seem to get explored in the next episode. But in because the Mandalorian, I felt like did that to a even bigger extent sometimes, but The Mandalorian, it was still like, it's like what you said. You were supposed to take that time in that moment because he's on that journey, and you're supposed to be on like a journey with him, right? And so, you're right. I can totally see what you're saying about that.
Well, and for me, I think when a show is episodic and we all get to share in the experience together, like I agree. Netflix, it is fun to be able to sit down and go, okay, I'm going to make my way through this season of a show at my own pace. If I want to watch 2 or 3 episodes at a time, I will. But I like that Mandalorian is one at a time. We have to wait collectively until that next episode comes out. It's appointment television. It's every Friday night. My hubby and I would, spend time with Baby Yoda, and now we're spending time with WandaVision. You do have to duck and cover on social media entire day on Friday. That's ridiculous because people feel the need to spoil an episode that's been out for an hour.
You mean you didn't watch it at 3:01 a.m. with your husband? How dare you? How dare you?
Right.
I like my sleep. I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, I like the shared experience of episodic television. Like give us give us that. We don't have to have everything right now. Let's
I
enjoy
like
it for what it is.
if we're getting it every week though, that's nice. Remember when shows it was like 4 episodes and then you had to wait like 2 months for another episode and then a couple of I think about Lost when Lost was on and they tried to do that. They tried to do that in season 3 where they were like, okay, well, we're going to split it in half and and they did like 4 or 5 episodes and then it was 3 months for the rest of the season. I was like, oh no, I'd rather just get 12 episodes in a row for 12 weeks and then move on with life. Don't like, I don't want to go back to the days of like, well, I mean, all shows are still doing that because that's how Supernatural was. It started in like end of September, beginning of October, and basically run through November, and then have a like couple weeks, little bit in December, pop back in for February, disappear, and then like April to the end, and you're like,
you're just describing television
all over the
right
map
now, Rhino.
All over the map. I can still deal with weekly episodics.
Well, that's how a show like The Walking Dead became what it was, because it's been, I feel like that's the last one of the last shows to capture that craze of what just happened this week, and we have to wait for next week to watch it. And like, have you ever tried to watch that show in a binge session? It is depressing as all get out. It is.
You just feel this like pull down.
It's not. It's terrible. And like, I feel like that's the opposite though can happen. Then the show that Jackie wants to talk about that we're not going off the rails on, or I'm just going to X out of this and cancel the recording, is Schitt's Creek. And a example like that, it's full of positive each week. So when you rewatch something like that, or The Office, or Scrubs, or any Friends, Seinfeld, it's like it's positive reinforcement. You keep watching because of that reason. So it's like, I feel like that's why sitcoms sometimes are better as binging after the fact, not necessarily while it's happening in the moment, though. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing unless your show's not interesting enough to hook people around for the next week. And then that's a big different debate right there altogether. But yeah, the way we watch TV as individuals is all very different. It's all very weird, and none of it really seems to make a lot of sense.
Can you imagine if WandaVision had dropped all at once, and how difficult it is every week to avoid worse than The Mandalorian? It's worse in terms of spoilers than The Mandalorian. Like, I don't know why people post screenshots and also in without like any context, without whatever. So if you're just scrolling through Instagram stories, hitting the next button, you're going to see it without even being warned about it. It's just one of those where I'm like, give people at least 24 hours or the weekend or something like that. And like, but like, imagine if this had all dropped at once. We also wouldn't be appreciating those big moments. Nobody would be like, Quicksilver right here, because they'd already know the end of that journey. Like, we still don't know what's going on with him. And so it's nice to have those big moments all the way through. But like you said, Craig, I don't know that it plays out the same way if you're watching it all in a row.
That's where I wish they could just get a better time than 3:00 a.m. Eastern time, because like I said, Walking Dead is an example. That's only a half good example. I feel like the last appointment television was probably Game of Thrones, and it's appointment television because everyone knew for that last season of Game of Thrones, everyone who cared about that show was either on HBO Go or sitting down watching HBO at 8:00 on Sunday nights, or whatever time it was on 9:00. And that's what happened. That's what happened through so many before. Like, think if Disney Plus on some of these bigger shows like WandaVision, like what Falcon and the Winter Soldier will hopefully be, Mandalorian, anything upcoming. Think if the big game changer show, not Mighty Ducks, the Game Changers, that's in front of me, so that's what made me think about it. But think if the big game changer shows did have that drop release at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Friday nights, and that's when we watched it. Like, how awesome would that be? Because right now, I feel like, as Rhino alluded to, it's the West Coast. They only have to be up till 12:01 or whenever to see their episodes, where we're all asleep and wake up to spoilers. Like, how nice would it be if, it's by the time an episode's over, if they commute, maybe some people start posting about it by the time they get to their commute, but then they can sit down and watch it too. Like, I want something like that. I wish
Make it
Disney
even
would do
later. Make it
something
9
like
p.m. Make it 10 p.m. even.
Jackie would be
give it
in
to us
bed.
10 p.m. on Thursday.
Jackie
you're
would be
Make
in
it
bed.
7:30. Yeah, but she's talking about when she was a kid, she was on the West Coast. So if she is able to watch it at 7:30 West Coast time, it's still 10 o'clock our time. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, if you give it a 12:01 is just it's annoying.
Yeah, I think so too. And I started watching The Bachelor this season because I just needed something that was mindless TV. And I'm having twitchy issues because that's one of the ones that you have to wait a whole week in between. And I'm sort of losing my mind because I'm like, I know the show's over. I want to know just post. Come on, just post them all. You're done filming. You're done. He's already picked who he's going to pick. You know it. We know it. Just post them all. Just do it.
And this is the way we used to always watch our TV shows.
There was no other option. And so it's the same with everything. We want things now. We want that instant gratification. And I want it too, even though I'm old.
Well, and you know what, Jackie, they hear your thirst for that Bachelor content, and that's why they're able to sell ads like crazy for those spots because they know you will tune in. And so for a lot of shows like that, that's where it keeps the entire thing moving. Who's buying Raya and the Last Dragon? Realistically, any of the four of us?
No,
I'm not buying it because it's going to be like Mulan. It's going to show up 2 months later, and so
I
it's
think
like
they said
I just
June.
wait.
Yeah, June.
Yeah, June. I'll wait till June. I want to see the movie very much, but I'm like, no, I'm not. If I get a vaccine before then and it's still in the movie theater, maybe I'll go to the movie theater and watch it. But
I mean, I was more intrigued having seen the trailer. The trailer definitely helped because I was like, at first, what in the world is this movie all about? Like, I don't know. And so the trailer's really cute. And Aquafina is that dragon that's very endearing. Cutie, cutie, cute. But no, I'm not similar to Milan. I'm not going to shelve out the extra dollars to be able to see it just a couple of months in advance.
I mean, $30 is how many cookies at Gideon's?
Well, Disney Springs 5.
5
but
cookies.
If you go to the original
to
location,
the other location,
6.
you get 6.
Yeah, so
this is Gideon's math. I like this.
Okay.
I mean, and I only say it because I can't just go to Gideon's. I've never had one of their cookies, so I don't even know. I only know because of everybody else and what they're saying. But I'm like, I don't think it's worth 5 cookies.
So, what movie is worth it?
5 cookies. Black Widow.
Yes.
You think so?
I don't know. I'd Black Widow. I'd at least question. I'd actually sit and be like, well, because the way people are with spoilers with WandaVision, I'm assuming spoiler alert, she dies. The Black Widow, not WandaVision. Sorry, I don't know if that's true or not. But that's the thing with it being a prequel. You're kind of like, well, I sort of already know what happens, but at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen. So
I might establish the Florence Pugh-universe.
Very cute.
Boom. I'm sure someone else had already said that, but it just popped in my head.
God, I hope not.
Because I will always look for a way to bring up Florence Pugh so I can say her name is Pugh. And it's like, wait, Pugh-universe. Pugh-universe. Yeah.
So you more of a Rose right now saying her name. Florence Pugh.
Yes.
Jackie, what movie? You had one on the tip of your tongue.
I do.
What was it?
What? So there's one that might tip me over. It might is Jungle Cruise. So it might. It just because it's based on a Disney attraction that I love, and it has Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I got to be honest. You might be on the right track with that. I think that's probably Black Widow for sure, because you have the Marvel people who just want Marvel content, so they'll go for anything. But I feel like in terms of some of the other decisions they've made, like Mulan, a lot of people, when given the chance of take it or leave it, they left it. And I have a feeling
it was a good movie, but
I still haven't watched it. I think the same thing will happen for Raya. I think more people will not watch it. My dogs hate animals on television. So the horses, that's a complete game changer.
Oh,
Like I can't.
It was like, there's no dragon, Craig.
No,
they
no.
won't recognize the dragon.
Yeah, anything like Raya, I might be able to get away with, but Mulan was a big no for the horses. I had to watch. After a year of wanting to watch it, I finally got to watch Togo, and I had to wait until it was like midnight and the dogs went up to sleep with Kylie, and then even then, I think I was like 5 minutes left in the movie. And Elvis finally heard a bark and ran downstairs and tried attacking our TV. So I'm very, I struggle with dog movies when it comes to Disney Plus and all streaming services. But I think Jungle Cruise, that would be one that would pay off for them, I think, in a big way.
I feel like that one could pull me. I'm not convinced that I would actually shell out the $30 for it, because I still might not, but that's one that if any were capable of, doing it, it would be that
I know
one,
it's not Disney, but if like Ghostbusters dropped, I'd be like $30 right here, right then and now. I would pay. I think it's different when it's like a franchise film or something. Yes. Like I know Jungle Cruise isn't necessarily franchise, but it's like what Jackie said, where it's based on such a like cherished Disney attraction. And it does have that appeal. You've got The Rock and Emily Blunt, whereas like Raya, I do want to see it, but it's like, because it's new and it's original, it's one of those where I'm like, well, like, and it would have been the same way with Soul, or let's even say Onward. Let's say that had not come out when it did, and it would have been wound up in one of these. I would have probably waited for all of those, because again, they're original. I know with Pixar people, they probably would have taken the leap because they're Pixar content that they want to pay for. But it's one of those, like, I guess when it's original, I'm like, well, if it's coming out, just wait a little bit longer, because I don't have an investment in it yet. Like I don't, you have that investment in Marvel movies. We have that investment in Jungle Cruise, the ride and stuff. So it feels a little more like pull toward it.
Yeah. Until
I forgot to mention Soul earlier. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like Soul.
It was a movie. It was a movie that came out this year.
It came out last year, Craig.
You're right. Absolutely. I am so sorry. It was a movie that came out last year.
To admit he was wrong in this episode. We nailed it.
I did. Yeah, I'll admit that. I'll admit when it comes to facts, I will admit when I'm wrong. Just not opinions. But before like Movie Pass existed and AMC A-List, I was very selective about movies. I would maybe only go to like 2 or 3 blockbusters a year, and I saved all of my money that I would use towards movies to just buy physical releases. And that's why that's like a third of all the Blu-rays I own right behind me. It's just way too much. And Rhino, clearly you look behind him and see.
I don't own any movies.
Yeah. Right. Rhino lives in a cavern of plastic.
That's only behind me. There's more in front of me and on the other side over there. Yeah. If ever all these came out at once, you'll find the body covered under discs.
And so that's where I struggle with it, because I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $30 for something I really want. But then I think about it like, yeah, back in the day, I was fine knowing that something might get spoiled for me with a movie I really want to see, but I'm okay with that because I'd rather just wait till it comes out and then buy it and own it. And I think I might be going back down that path. I don't know. I hope not, because I do love the movie going experience, but it's tough. It's tough.
It's non-existent right now, though, is the other half of that. That's the problem too,
Yeah.
Right.
But how cool is it that we're getting the movie going experience, like cinematic quality, in an episodic television show? Like I'm sitting here
enjoy that.
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so what other movie franchise has translated in to a TV show so well? And of course, we've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? That ran for 7 seasons, 8 seasons. So yes, that. And I know that they've tried like The Flash on,
the Arrowverse on CW, yeah.
Right. But like to get like The Mandalorian, something that quality, or to get something like WandaVision, just the quality, the depth, it looks like we're watching a movie when we're watching these things, and just as much thought and writing skill and special effects and cinematography, like all of that is being poured into a television show. And so just how cool is it that we get to enjoy that just as, you know, from subscribing to a streaming service to
it's also shaped to be enjoyed in that manner as well. Like that. So it is what you're saying, like that scope and budget of a film, but also meant where they're saying, okay, we know people are watching this at their home on their couch. So we have to also modify it in that sort of sense where we create that like home viewing experiences. Yeah. So this really is that first kind of like, you know, Star Wars and or The Mandalorian and WandaVision are the first to kind of do that. WandaVision especially becoming a piece, an interlinking piece from movies into this back and then shooting back into the movies. That'll be be interesting. I'll be very interested to see how that plays out and if it does it well.
Absolutely. Any little mention of the MCU and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, oh my gosh, there's some tie-in.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Any little nugget. So how cool is this is a part of that timeline? That's amazing.
But you're right. The format has evolved so much from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where that, like, when that show finally had its sync up with Winter Soldier, and that was that moment that set that show up, like that brought it in, like that was an epic moment. But at the end of the day, the budget for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was far less than a Marvel movie. But I mean, that's in this time, even in the 6 years since that happened, this entire industry has shifted to where big actors want to make miniseries now. They want to do these episodic 10 episodes that look really great. And directors are also flocking to it as well, too. They want to be a part of it because they're not just limited to that 10, they're not limited to 2 hours or 3 hours. They have 10 hours to tell an entire story the way they want to. I mean, we're living in an age where people are more interested in documentaries than ever before, solely because they've discovered we can make a four 50-minute blocks and tell a great documentary story, and people will just eat it up. Not because the content's necessarily great, but it's just they found the right format. And Disney has a chance to really, really, really take it, much like this episode, off the rails with Marvel and Star Wars if they want to. I feel like we're going to benefit in the long run from it. It's
the rebirth of the miniseries. That's what it feels like, you know, when there was this episode, you know, this little miniseries that was happening, and, you know, your parents scrambled to watch it back in the day because they heard it was going to be. That's what we're in now, and it is.
We're in the second golden age of television, is what I read. Is that they were saying that this is the second coming of that.
Rhino, you had all the chance in the world to just steal that for yourself right now, but you didn't.
To steal what?
You could have said. You could have said.
I should have just said. I said it.
I said it, and Esquire stole it from me.
I said it. Trademark it. Mail this envelope to myself.
With that, the Choo Choo Master has called this episode of Off the Rails to an end.
Conductor. He's a conductor.
Wait, they don't call them Choo Choo Masters?
Yeah, I don't think Choo Choo Master or Choo Choo Man is really the official terminology they use.
I like it better.
Yeah, could be mistakes.
I just always would look at the person at the front and I would say, Mr. Choo Choo Man, and sometimes Master, depending. It's like they are the person who's in control.
That's
Master
true.
and Commander, Far Side of the World. It's a movie.
They always wearing a
Look
vest.
it up. Yeah.
Russell Crowe.
Okay, Russell Crowe. Yes, that other guy that was in it too. Fantastic. Okay, that's it. We're done going off the rails. We're back on the rails. We'll see what we go off the rails on next week. Thanks for the fun, extra long conversation about absolutely nothing. And what?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Yep. Appreciate it. If you have, we're going to try to do this where we base it around the show topics, I think, as I said last week. So, of course, your thoughts, please leave them all in the comments below with this on YouTube, or reach out to us on social media if you're listening. But if you have ideas for when we have weeks where we can't come up with something to go off the rails on, that was this week, for example. When we have weeks where we don't really have anything, also leave those those in the comments below. Leave us things you want us to go off the rails on, because that'll help out. So that way we don't spoil all your favorite shows and movies for you when we just can't come up with anything else. But this was fun. Thank you, everyone. Let's go. So bye-bye.